As anime continues to grow in popularity, so does the interest in live-action adaptations. With more and more being announced either from Hollywood or Japan, they have always had a rough history, going into production for so long that nothing ever surfaces or actually releasing to major negative reception. There are many reasons to why they fail, and the idea has forever been tainted, especially for Hollywood ones. Animation's biggest strength is that it is only limited to the imagination of the creator. You can make a show and characters look completely different because of the art and design, and that combined with animation a show has, it can create some incredible moments that can only happen because of the completely different look. The look being like nothing else makes it much easier for the viewer to get sucked into these fictional worlds and believe the characters. The Mob Psycho 100 TV drama doesn't interest me because what made the anime so popular was the incredible level of animation done in the show. Studio Bones used the really rough art from the manga as a way to allow a variety of different animation styles and effects that were amazing and powerful. Your Name's beauty comes from the level of detail in the environment, which is just something Makoto Shinkai is known for. Animation and art is a big part of what made these series popular, and by turning them into live action, a massive aspect of its character is being taken away. Even with anime that don't have a crazy art style, when an attempt is made to recreate its look, it's always off. These scenes from the film versions aren't nearly as intimidating as their anime or even manga counterparts, and when the full scene plays out, the impact and strength of those scenes is gone. The anime being chosen are always based on big name brands, which makes sense, but maybe that is the issue. What companies put into production are based on their level of popularity without knowing their contents. The story of these shows are very big and a little odd that giving it to someone who knows nothing of it and must adapt it to work in a smaller format while also trying to make it accessible to a new audience hasn't ended with good results. The directors chosen are usually people who have never interacted with the material, so when they do make their versions, they are usually faulty renditions that do not represent what made the series a hit. It's typically because of that lack of knowledge that so many things are changed that it no longer feels or looks like what is being adapted. I am not someone who believes that a film or show based on a pre-existing property should be exactly like its source material. I for one like different interpretations of stories and characters as long as it respects the original material and tells a good story. But with many of these adaptations, they stray so far from it but still decide to keep little things from the original that it actually hinders the experience. Many would be able to look at these films independently, but then it has names or moments lifted straight from the anime or manga that it becomes hard to separate. And because the directors and writers don't know much of the source material, when they recreate scenes, it's done without the context and detail. A good example of this is Death Note. Specifically, Episode 2, Confrontation. The entire episode is to introduce L. It shows how simple Light's life is in contrast to the police having difficulties understanding the current case, only to use L, their final resort. They have no idea who he is or what he looks like. He serves as a mirror to the protagonist, and it's conveyed even more in the actual confrontation. Light completely understands what it feels like when an unknown entity takes full control of the situation, which is communicated so well with his expressions. We see the intimidation and feeling of being powerless. What holds the entire moment together is the 9 minutes of dialogue and music, all together culminating into one of the most iconic scenes in anime.
Naturally, I'm very interested to know how you're able to commit these murders without being present, but I don't mind waiting a little bit longer.
You can answer all of my questions when I catch you.
Let's meet again soon, Kira.
But when you get to the movie, L is shown much earlier, seen interacting with several people, and goes on television to announce who he is and provoke Kira. It's the complete opposite of his character because these are things he would never do. The entire confrontation scene only lasts a minute and there's barely any music playing and the characters barely show any emotion.
Now I'm rooting for this guy.
You just shut the fuck up.
No? Well, in that case, Kira, I shall be meeting you face to face very shortly.
Turning the scene that normally hooks people into an incredibly forgettable one. Its structure makes the viewer understand and feel the gravity of any situation. It's very clear that the director didn't understand that structure, so when he changed it, The power and weight that the series is known for is completely absent in the film. Even with Ghost in the Shell, while it very much shows that the director is a fan of the original material, he missed one of the biggest aspects of the series: originality.
We took, to me, what were the most iconic pieces and built the rest of the universe narratively to fit it.
Ghost in the Shell has stayed so relevant because of the different versions it keeps getting, all that do their own things with the characters, all very isolated from each other that still respect the original manga even if they don't follow it. He focused more on iconography from the series than actually writing a new different interpretation. Because of all these poor versions, many have come to believe that anime is just unadaptable. Stories are far too big and weird that it would never work in a live action setting, and I disagree. Good films based on weird stories exist. The 2008 Speed Racer tells its own original story while tonally and aesthetically respecting the anime. Another good example, while not anime, is very anime inspired, is Scott Pilgrim, which aside from getting good interpretations in video games and in a short, got an amazing movie which leaned heavily into its material, not straying from all the crazy humor and video game aesthetic, and this was because Edgar Wright read the graphic novels and even had the creator, Brian Lee O'Malley, part of the production. So even when it didn't follow the novels, it was done to tell a good story with the approval from the creator. I still do believe that live action versions of anime could work, but I think the approach to it would have to change. Instead of doing these huge series, do smaller ones. Anime that are much more grounded. It is a medium that has a variety of shows that aren't all the huge save the world stories. I personally would love to see movies based on Steins Gate, Bacchanal/Durarara, or even Psychopaths. Anime with easier concepts to understand. Use the smaller anime to make films and TV shows, and if they do well, work your way up to the mega franchises. Death Note and the upcoming Cowboy Bebop series is a step in the right direction, but what hindered Death Note was the writer and director, which leads to the next part. Get people who either understand the material or know the genre really well that have a good track record. Scott Pilgrim showed what happened when a really skilled filmmaker who knows the material creates a live action adaptation, and the results are there. Even if they don't know it but understand the genre, they can create something new with it that can be just as good. I think with these changes, we will finally see a good live action anime.